Casey Phillips here with senior writer and editor Scott Smith. Time to break down the second round playoff matchup. So exciting that we get to do this. We are on to the second round, and we have now found out, thanks, we had to do some waiting again to find out who we were going to be playing. There were a couple different scenarios, and I think this is the one that we expected to be a little bit more likely, and unfortunately just another divisional matchup, it feels like.
Yeah, at least we didn't have to wait until like 11 o'clock this time to find out where we're going. But we did have to wait for the middle game in the triple header, the Super Wild Card Weekend triple header, which was kind of nice to be watching after the Buccaneers had already won. It certainly was a little bit relaxing, but there was that question of where the Bucs were headed. And not unexpectedly, New Orleans beat Chicago, which means the two seed beat the 7 seed. And that means the Buccaneers are going back to New Orleans. It's not the first time this has happened. In 1997, the Buccaneers played the Packers in the same round after beating Detroit, and that was after breaking a long playoff drought, just like this year. So it's very similar. Hopefully the outcome isn't the same because the Packers beat the Bucs for the third straight time in that game. Obviously, the Buccaneers will be trying to beat New Orleans after losing to them twice this season. That's sort of the team they have to get over. All of this happened, of course, because the Rams beat Seattle, because otherwise, if Seattle had won, the Bucs would be going to Green Bay, and that's not easy either, obviously.
Yeah, so I mean, there really was going to be a tough matchup no matter what it seemed like, but unfortunately, we do know the Bucs have lost to the Saints twice already this year. I do believe beating any team 3 times is very challenging. So what are the things you think the Bucs are going to have to do to make sure that this outcome is different than the regular season matchups?
Yeah, people say that beating a team 3 times is challenging thing a lot, but I mean, does it really have any basis in anything? I mean, if I were the team that already won twice, I'd feel pretty confident. What the Bucs need to do is what they did against Washington, and I know that game was maybe a little closer than some expected, but for different reasons. What the Buccaneers did do was a pretty good job against that fierce Washington pass rush. Tom Brady ended up getting sacked 3 times, but for the most part, he had pretty good time, and Chase Young in particular was handled very well. And that's been a thing the Buccaneers have done well for the last 5 or 6 weeks in a row. They protected the quarterback very, very well and given Tom Brady time to throw. But in both games that they lost to New Orleans, they did not do a good job of giving Tom Brady time to throw. And New Orleans has had a very good pass rush this season, and I think that has been the difference in the games both times that they have played. So handling that better and giving Tom Brady, he's just hitting downfield throws like crazy the last 5 weeks. So if you give him time to do that, the Buccaneers definitely have a chance in this one.
And it does feel like the Buccaneers offense is a very different one now than especially that first matchup against the Saints.
Yeah.
That was the very
Oh,
opening
yeah.
game. You know, the first time these guys had a chance to be throwing in game action to
Yeah.
each other. So I do think, and even the faster starts, that if we remember that both of those Saints matchups were when the Bucs were struggling to get off to a faster offensive start and weren't taking the ball when they were doing the coin flip. So I do think that in that sense, it is a little bit different as well.
Well, you're absolutely right, especially about the first game. Tom Brady, that was his first time actually live in action. And you recall, I'm sure, that there were 2 interceptions in that game, and at least one of them was clearly the result of miscommunication between 2 players, because Tom thought the receiver was going to do one thing and he did something else. And they knew that was going to happen early on, and they said it was a work in progress. And the Bucs offense absolutely was a work in progress that didn't really fully gel until December. So that's a big difference, and a very good point on your part.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for us on this matchup preview. So excited to watch round 2 of the playoffs. Stay tuned to Buccaneers.com for all your coverage leading up to the game.